Hello, Backyard Pizzaioli. It's Paul with Bitonto Pizza again. Today we're going to talk about ovens, the basics of wood-fired ovens, and how to choose the right oven for you. We're going to take a slightly different approach than we have before. We're going to talk about size, we're going to talk about shape, and we're going to talk about thermal mass. Let's get started. First of all, let's talk about the different types of ovens there are out there. Let's start with the shape of the oven. So when we talk about a dome oven, that dome shape that you're aware of, there's actually two variants of this dome. But if you think of a dome, it's like taking a ball, cutting it in half, and then you have a dome. That's your basic dome shape. It's not ideal for Neapolitan pizza, and the wider the base of the dome, so the bigger the oven, if you follow that math, the taller the top is going to be, and the more thermal mass you're going to have in that dome, and the more energy it's going to take to heat that oven up. So having the dome built that way is one way to do it, but it's not particularly recommended for pizzaioli. The second way to do that dome is what they call a Neapolitan dome. So you take that dome and you kind of squash it down. The real advantage of that squashed dome is that it's going to cook the pizza faster. So you're going to get more throughput. There are some other advantages of it in terms of heating time as well. But initially, I would say we're talking about throughput and we're talking about efficiency. The portable ovens kind of have different types, and I'm going to essentially throw most of the portable ovens into these two subcategories, which are, one is what I call the barrel-shaped oven, which is, this shape, but it's long. It's like half a cylinder. It's like a cylinder cut in half. The other type of portable oven actually is elongated and has the fire in the back. And there's good reason for that, but there are some problems that come with that as well. But we're going to talk about size and shape principles more than actual ovens. And this will help you to kind of figure out how you're going to use your oven, which oven to buy, without having to buy them all and try them all. Okay, let's talk about the dome oven. And we're going to refer to these as if we were looking at them from the top and just looking at the cooking surface. If you're in a commercial setting, you may be looking at a dome that's larger than 1 meter round, but chances are, if you're at home, that's kind of where you're gonna top things out. The dome itself may not be perfectly round, especially if you're looking at a commercial oven and a Neapolitan style dome. It may actually be a little more oval, a little more elongated, and that's to help with the efficiency of the ovens. Let's start with the 60 centimeter oven. I like to cook 12-inch pizzas. That's kind of a standard Neapolitan size. I think it translates to essentially a 30 centimeter pizza. So just immediately we're gonna say, oh, I've got a 30 centimeter pizza, and that's gonna take up half of the size of my oven. But that's not the only thing in my oven. So let's assume that I've put my fire at essentially the 10 o'clock position. In a 60 centimeter oven, you can see how much of that oven is actually occupied by that fire. And if I have a 12-inch pizza, then I'm gonna get that through. The opening is gonna be a little bit tight, and I basically have not much of a choice as to where I cook that pizza. I could cook with my fire over to this side, but I'm gonna have, my flame is gonna come up this way towards the chimney in the front. And that means that I'm really not gonna get ideal cooking situation. So I really want, my fire to be over here, and then that means my pizza's over here. I'm gonna tell you that this represents some issues off the bat. So first of all, I've got the edge of my pizza pretty close to the opening of my oven. This part of the oven is not going to be heated very well, and so, or certainly not as well as the oven back here. So when I'm this close to the front of the oven, I'm going to cause some trouble, because I'm going to have a heat differential between this side of the pizza and this side of the pizza. If I have any problems with floor heating,
I don't really have any choices to sort of move my pizza around to a warmer spot to kind of make sure I get the bottom of the pizza cooked really well. So yeah, I can move it back here, but I'm essentially at the same spot. So for a 60 centimeter oven, certainly with fire, I can cook a pizza. I may not be able to get very much throughput, and the cooking experience is going to be a little tough. My pizza is going to be pretty close to that fire. That means I'm going to be turning it all the time. Let's remove the wood fire and put the gas fire in here. So the gas fire kind of changes my story. If I have a 60 centimeter oven with a gas fire, now this opens things up for me a lot. I can comfortably cook a full 12-inch pizza in here. I have a little room to move it around in case my floor starts getting cooler. Now let's take a look, and I'm gonna skip straight to the 80 centimeter oven. So the first thing you'll notice is that if I cook one pizza at a time, I've actually got some room to move around, and I have a much more comfortable cooking situation. I'm far enough from the fire, and that means I'm not going to have to spin that pizza quite as many times while I'm cooking it. I also have an opportunity to move around. I could also, if I want to get somewhat aggressive, I can cook a couple of pizzas at once in this oven, and I've got a pretty comfortable space to do it. You want enough space between the pizzas that you're not hitting them, and honestly, like this pizza here is going to be a little close to the oven, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem, because when I put this pizza in first, and then this one in second, I spin this around a couple times, I spin this around a couple times. This one's going to come out first because it's in the hotter position in the back. But then if I need to cook the bottom, I can maybe move my pizza around a little bit more, and I've got a little bit of flexibility in cooking that second pizza. And you could definitely cook 3 at a time if you wanted to do that. I don't. I really only cook 1 pizza at a time in this oven. Now let's switch from fire to gas, and you'll see, boy, that really opens up a lot of possibilities for me. Because now my gas burner is all the way back here, and I've got room. Really, if I wanted, I could cook 4 pizzas at once. It's gonna take a little bit of effort to make this happen, but possibly could I do it? Maybe I could. Let's take a look at our 1 meter oven, and let's put some fire in the back of the 1 meter oven. So if I put my fire at the 10 o'clock position in this 1 meter oven, if I'm a really good pizzaiolo, I could probably cook these 4 pizzas with fire in this 1 meter oven. Now, let's move to gas, and that's going to change the equation substantially. I've got my gas burner back here. Now, I've got a lot of room to put my pizzas in. So I can cook quite a few pizzas, maybe even 5 at a time in this oven, and I'm really going to be pretty comfortable doing it. Let's turn our attention to portable oven now. This is one of the first oven that I had for cooking with fire was the Ooni Pro. Now back then it was actually a little bit larger. Now it's a 16-inch oven. At the time it was 18-inch. To be honest, I don't think there's much of a difference, because you can really only cook 1 pizza at a time in this oven. Although with the 18-inch, maybe I could have cooked a larger pizza. I didn't really care to do that. I was really focused on the 12-inch Neapolitan style pizza. So certainly I have 1 pizza that fits in the oven comfortably, but you're going to notice some of the issues that I've already talked about. One is that no matter where I put the pizza on here, I'm either going to be very close to the fire or very close to the front of the oven, and that's going to create a problem. One of the big issues with this type of oven is that the fire in the basket should be rolling over the top. If I get a little bit of wind, what happens? The fire actually may blow out the back, so be careful what you keep in the back, because there is a hole back here, unlike the dome oven, which its only opening is really in the front. Then I end up with some inconsistent heating. And that's a problem if you want to make a lot of pizzas. The Ooni Pro is fantastic for making 2-3 pizzas. And it has an advantage that the dome ovens don't have, which is it heats up really quickly. In about 20 minutes, I can heat this thing up with fire. It's no problem. The Cordiorite pizza stones on the bottom of the oven are about 5/8 inch thick, and they only really have enough thermal mass to cook maybe 1 or 2 pizzas before I really have to reheat the bottom. I did this oven once. I took it out to a company event and cooked pizzas for folks, and I was able to get a throughput of about 8 to 10 pizzas an hour. The other thing that I would mention is you're looking at the oven from the front here. This is the only view you really have into the oven. Just like any other oven, you're looking through the door, and the part of the pizza that's next to the fire, you can't really see. It's like way back there, and it's really hard to see if that's cooking or not. And so you have to do what I call proactive turning, which means I'm not going to let that pizza sit on there for more than 15 seconds. And if I am only letting the pizza sit there for 15 seconds and I have a high hydration pizza, there's a good chance that I'm going to stick in the middle and I'm going to create a hole. And of course, nobody wants that. Again, not a high throughput oven. If you're making just a couple of pizzas, it's fantastic. I loved this oven. I would have pizza parties, but it would take me 2 hours to cook a pizza for everybody at the party. So, it had that drawback, but I could do, if I just had the family around, do 4, 5, maybe 6 pizzas. It was good for that. It also meant that I really didn't have to, spend a lot of time heating the oven. I wasn't spending a lot of fuel heating the oven. And so the cost of engaging with that oven was a little bit lower. And there was an advantage for that. I would eat pizza more often simply because it was just easier to do. Now let's switch our attention to the Forno Bravo, and these are not dome ovens. These are really barrel ovens, and like the Ooni Pro, the top of the oven is metal and the bottom of the oven is pizza stone. It's Cordiorite. So in the case of the Forno Bravo, I'm looking in the front of the oven this way. The back is completely closed. There is a chimney up front, but essentially this oven is a box, and it is shaped like a barrel. And so I'm going to take up some of this width that I have just for the fire itself. So I may not be able to get as many pizzas in there as I thought or I wanted to. But let's just put some pizzas in there. So yeah, I can probably get 4 pizzas in this oven if I work at it pretty hard. Here's the problem. These 2 pizzas up front are going to have some pretty uneven heating because, again, they are right next to the door of the oven. So this part of the floor is going to be cooler and this part of the floor is going to be a little bit warmer. I don't have that tunnel going in that I have on a dome oven. The other issue that I'm going to have cooking 4 pizzas in here at a time is that the pizzas in the back are going to be kind of hard to see and going to be difficult to keep an eye on those. In fact, most of the videos I've seen of the Forno Bravo, and I look for this specifically, is that this deep oven is going to be kind of dark in the back despite having that fire in there. I don't doubt that you can cook some great pizzas in here, but I would say that it would not be my first choice for Neapolitan style pizza.
Let's talk about the Gozney Dome. I find this oven incredibly intriguing, and if anybody at Gozney wants to send me one, I'll be more than happy to do a full review of it. It was clearly designed by a company that knows a lot about pizza ovens and a lot about how a pizza oven works. The top of the dome is made of steel, but it's very, very highly insulated. In fact, you'll notice that the chimney is in the center of the dome rather than in the front, as in a typical dome oven. And I've seen ovens that do this that are refractory ovens where they put the the chimney in the center. I believe Forno Bravo has some models that do that. And the purpose of that is some of the heat will come up over the dome and out the chimney. It's kind of a solution in search of a problem when you have a refractory dome. Because first of all, it's gonna go over the top of the refractory material, which in itself is gonna be 2-3 inches thick, depending on if it's a commercial oven or just a standard oven. And generally, the part of the oven that needs heat the most is not the top, is not the dome itself, it's the floor. That's where you run into trouble after you've been cooking pizza, because the pizza pulls more heat out of the oven. But the Gozney Dome, it makes sense because it goes straight over the top, which is made of steel, and it helps keep the irradiation of the oven up. So that's one of the problems that you have with an oven like the Ooni, is you have to keep a flame just running over the top of the pizza for it to work. You can cook with wood if you want that wood flavor pizza, or you can cook with gas. They're on opposite sides of the oven. Honestly, you could kind of heat everything up with gas and then cook with wood if you wanted to. I think it's really intriguing. A couple of design areas that I think may be problematic for them are the front. The front opening seems a little large to me, and it's not a huge oven. You could maybe cook a couple pizzas in there at once, but really it's just designed for one pizza at a time. Great looking oven, wonderful looking piece of equipment. It's got some really cool electronics in it for managing the oven temperature, etc. Overall, I'd love to see what that oven does, but if I'm gonna be cooking for a large group or a party, or somewhat commercially even, I'm not gonna be looking at the dome, despite how beautiful that oven looks. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and hit that like button, please subscribe, and give me your comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I respond to just about anything, so if you have questions about anything you've seen, just hit me up in the comments. Thanks very much, and enjoy your pizza.